Just getting that camera sorted. Hello everyone and welcome to the top of my head. Nope. Thank you. There we go. Wearing my lovely dressing gown. I have had such a long day and I thought, do you know what? It would be nice to do another Mk1 Focus live stream, which I haven't done in quite a while because I literally don't have the time for live streams like I used to. So it's kind of what takes the whim, and I have a little bit of time. So I thought I'd try and put another live stream out there. Oh, there we go. I'm on the screen. Fantastic. Hello, Andrew. Hello, everyone who has joined. Hello, Nick. Hello, buddy. First one in the queue, no doubt. As always. Hello, buddy. I hope you're good. That's a picture. Oh, yeah. I just stuck that one up. It was just from the other day when I did the boot leak video. Turns out a couple of people have messaged me and said there's more areas than you've actually covered, which is actually quite interesting because there's actually a few areas that I actually missed, but they're very unique areas, and I suspect that only one or two focuses will have this kind of area, but they all kind of relate to the seam very close to the breather vents in the boot, where you've got those little compartments where the vents are. There's like a seam that runs very close to that vent that also leaks, and it's yet another area. They were just so poorly waterproofed. But to be fair, as somebody else pointed out, so many other cars of this period have serious water leaks. It's not Focus Mark 1 related. Rover 45s, my Rover 45 still has a minute boot leak. And I know what it is. There's a seam that's gone somewhere where the seam sealer is just cracked. And that's just what happens over 20 odd years I've been outside. So Mark 1s, you know, it does have a few more areas that you would like, especially around the grommet and the striker panels, and some of the seams up top. You wouldn't expect them to sort of go in those places, but you know, that's just the way it is at the end of the day. Hi Tadas, hello, nice to speak to you, my friend. I hope you're okay and things are going very nicely where you are. It was lovely to see you, which was over about a month ago now. Goodness me, time has flown, and it feels like no time at all, really. For those who are interested, I got the bearing fixed for €90 in total. That's quite cheap. 50 for the job itself and 40 for the part. So you did you use the second-hand hub that Dave had given you? For those who don't know, Tadas came to the Mark 1 Focus Preservation Club meet at the Motorist last month, all the way from Lithuania, travelled the furthest than anybody else, showed real dedication. And no doubt that dedication will be matched equally, because I intend to go into Europe at some point, very in the next few years, I suspect. And he drove all the way here on a faulty bearing, while the rear bearings had decided to give up in a rather just a noticeable but not a bad way. And I assessed it a few days before the show, and it turns out it wasn't that bad. And the rear wheel bearings tend to make a noise, but unless you leave them for unscrupulous amounts of time, and way more miles than Tadas has done on this journey to and from Lithuania, and that's a lot of miles, you're not going to have a problem. You just get it changed when you can. Doing it on the discs is not a problem. Doing it on the drums, where you can just, I personally would just fit a new drum, to be honest, because by that stage the drum will probably need sorting anyway. It'd be scored on the inside. It's the front ones you got to watch, because the front ones are under extreme pressure, especially on a diesel. If it had been one of the front ones, Tadas, I don't think you'd have made it, because I wouldn't have recommended you making it, because the weight of the diesel on those hubs, they can go pretty badly, and you will know if it's a front wheel bearing, it will make a ridiculous groan sound. So if you're driving along and you think, oh, is that a bearing sound? And you're not sure, most likely it's not. It's most likely a cheap tyre, because old cheap tyres can make some real nasty sounds. And the state of the roads. there's a certain road that I drive down locally, and with every single one of my cars, even to this day, after many years of me knowing that this happens, it feels like my car's suddenly developed a wheel bearing issue on all four wheels. And I question myself, goodness me, has this happened? No, it's the road. But every single time I go over it, it's like, this is really disconcerting. So it could be just a road. If it stops, then you know it's not a bearing. So I'm pleased that that's been sorted. The morning Yorkshireman, hello Josh, how are you, sir? I hope you are good, and I'm privileged that you could watch one of my live streams. I have looked at some of yours. Yeah, Formula One. Definitely my cup of tea, actually. The only thing about Formula One that really dies me head in is there's no competitiveness. You literally can write the name of the winner for the Constructors and the Drivers' Championship before the season's even started. You'll know in the first practice session which cars are good and which are not. It's not a drivers' competition no more. Supposedly the ultimate form of motorsport is the most uncompetitive and predictable. And that's the one thing that has been lost on me over the years. I still watch it though. I still watch it. Craig, hello, buddy. I hope you're good, matey. And did you get the rear headrest? Did you get the link that somebody gave me? Somebody watched the video and said, "I've got some rear headrests in leather." Well, they're not leather. They're vinyl. The headrests are actually made from a cheap vinyl. They're not leather, but leather headrests. He had a few. This person had a few going, and I just directed them to you. So hopefully you sorted that. And you've got that part. Adam, hello matey, how are you? I don't know what the weather is like with everyone, but my boot will need another check after the rain this evening. Yes, it's raining again, isn't it? Honestly, it's the middle of June, we're coming to the middle of June. We're about 7 days away from the longest day, and it feels like the show season has not even got off the ground. There have been car shows near me that have been cancelled all over the place for boggy fields. I mean, to be fair, it's one of those seasons where you need car meets on concrete because that's the only way of doing it. And even then, you're not going to get the turnout you want because the best cars are always the ones that are never driven in the wet. And that rules two of my cars out straight away. Beatrix is the only one I'll drive in the wet. So there's not as many car shows this year that I'm attending that were in my diary and are not now. And then I've had some issues with the Fiesta again, which you'll find out about soon. But nothing major, but teething problems. Nick, I need to check the areas in Derek and George's boot. Yes, you do, in both of them. In both of them, I've got this image of you, Nick, sitting in the car with your torch in the middle of the street, and people think. Tadas, I used new part because 3 of them was changed, so why not put... That's fine, that's no problem. It was a free gift from Dave, and it would have done if I thought it needed changing, but time was very much against you. You needed to get on that ferry, but I'm really pleased that you got a spare. It doesn't matter, it's a spare. Josh, the moaning Yorkshireman is Josh, by the way, just in case people don't know this. Josh interviewed me for his channel regarding the Mark 1 Preservation Club and what we're about. And it was a lovely day, and pleasure meeting you, buddy. And I hope to see you at another one. Adam tells me that you might be coming to another one, so ideally so. I do apologise for those people who are watching this thinking I need to solve some problems, and he's just talking about the club, but the Mark 1 Club is endemic in all my videos, focus Mark 1 related, and it is at the heart of what I do. Craig, nice to hear from you. Got it sorted, Tadas. I was worried about you all the way home as I was nursing the same issue all the way back to Scotland. Don't tell me, Craig, your wheel bearings were going as well. Honestly, who'd have put a number on that? There was about 19 of us, and 2 went home with bearing issues. I hope you got that sorted. Adam, fair enough, these streams have been great before. Great, lovely. I'm pleased, and it always is. As I say, this is going to be quite a random one. I need to be asleep by 11 o'clock, so I'm going to have to stop this at 10:30 dead. So we'll go as quick as I can. Focus guy, hello buddy, how are you? Nick, when travelling at 50 miles an hour in Derrick, there's a vibration. It's not the wheel or the wheel alignment. Any ideas? Yeah, that could be that could be a number of things going through the wheel. I mean, to be fair, the diesel engines always transmit a fair amount of vibration. I've got to be honest, if your engine mountings are not in the greatest of shape, you'll feel it through the whole car. Do you feel it through the pedals by any chance? I'll just ask that. DB Sparks, now then bud, how's things? Very good, Dave, very good. And your video is coming out very, very soon. I'm glad that you're getting on with that silver. He's looking amazing. I've just seen some recent pictures, and it's amazing. You're doing all the brake pipes and everything, the brake pipes of a tank. It's superb, absolutely superb. And that fuel tank looks brand new. Plastic fuel tanks last forever, don't they? Tadas, with vibrations, I had drive shaft. If you let the throttle and it stops, it might be the half shafts. Actually, I did encounter a problem on, it wasn't a Mark 1, but it was a Mark 3 Mondeo. And where you got the drive shaft at the back of the engine, especially on the petrol models, and I think it's for the same for the diesels, you'll have a bearing that sits on the longest shaft. So the, not the near side, the off side in the UK, the long drive shaft, okay, from the gearbox, that has a bearing on it, okay, in the middle, okay, it's a support bearing. Unfortunately, when that bearing decides to make some groaning noises and might cause some excessive vibration, that drive shaft will need to be replaced. It's not something you can replace separately. Once it starts going wrong, that's it. That can cause vibration, but also a bad joint can do that. Josh, I have to say I agree with Adam's earlier statement about the thumbnail looking like an album cover. Definitely Shed 7 or traffic vibes. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I just didn't intend for that to be the case, but it does look like it. I'm not going to do like a sort of Beatles walking over the zebra crossing. No, I'm not going to quite do that. And no VW Beatles, thank you very much. It would be a row of Mark 1 Focuses. I might do that. That might be fun. Oh, that one might be fun. You've given me an idea now. So very incidental, I have to say. But it would go well on a vinyl album cover. And I do like a little bit of vinyl. Tadas, speaking about ferry, I checked if there is a closer one for me to the UK, but the closest is Holland, so no point paying double, no chance. You'll be paying a lot of money for that. Two of us with bad wheel bearing, and for those who was far away. Josh, great thumbnail though, not dissing it. Oh, you weren't, I know, absolutely not. It looks good. Wow, if you say it's a good thumbnail, then it's a good thumbnail. People are more likely to click on it. Tadas, yes, it was this drive shaft with bearing. That might be the bearing then. That might be that then. That's interesting. I'll definitely, the only way of checking is to take it's just literally a clamp that clamps the back of the drive shaft to the support. The bearing is half of the bearing is like sort of on the block, but that's kind of a support bracket. The bearing is on the drive shaft, and you just need to unbolt the two bolts that take the clamp away, and the drive shaft will come away, and then you can spin it and see if it makes a noise. Focus guy, anybody looking at the boot leaks issue and wondering where it's coming from? I found a little leak today on Red Riding Hood coming from the spot welded areas. This is exactly the area, Tony, that I was actually referring to at the start, because obviously you told me earlier. And it basically, where the vent sits, tiny area, right hand corner behind the bumper. So it's happening on the right hand side for you, just like me. But it's not, mine wasn't leaking from there. But you've got this little corner section, so you take the bumper off, and where your vent sits, you've got this little corner section, and you've got a little bottom to it. There's a little seam there, and where they've folded the metal, the water is getting in between the folded metal and the lap it's on. So you sort of got the vent, and then you've got a piece of metal that's folded over and spot welded onto another piece of metal. Water is going down and in between the two and into the vent area. So actually, you've actually proven this, Tony, a little bit, because I said it in the video. When people say they've got boot leaks, you go on Facebook, the forums, oh, it's your vents, it's your vents, or it's your rear light seals. Absolutely not. In fact, I've proven from people's examples, the vents are not responsible for most of the leaks. It's other things, and people seal the vents and they've still got water coming in. They're scratching their heads, and I think this seam is another one. And I don't think you're alone, Tony. Naturally, I'd have to get the bumper off to show people exactly what I've just explained. But it'd be worth doing if you can get the bumper off yours at some point and take a photograph of that area, because you'll know the area. You'll see the seam on the other side by the vent, and you think that's where it's coming from. Craig, mine was a front bearing that had started grumbling as soon as I left to come down to the mate. What bad luck that is. I got it changed, but I put the bearing in backwards. So now I've got the ABS. Oh no, the bearing's got in backwards. Oh. Yeah, you're not the first to have, it's not the first to have had that happen. It's easy to get it the wrong way around. Oh, bloody hell, it's got to come back out again then. I've got another bearing there to go, and as soon as possible I get a dry down, change it again. Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Nick, I was thinking engine mount and sometimes through the pedals, but not often. That's the engine mount. If you're feeling anything through the pedals, that's the engine mount, 100%. Tadas, it's almost, it actually got to a point with my petrol when the engine mount had actually gone on that right hand side, the hydro mount that leaks oil. The pedals will vibrate so much, you'll get out the car and it'll be like you've been standing on one of them vibrating machines. Your feet will still be vibrating. It was that bad. But you get used to it. The problem with engine mounts is they slowly deteriorate. Then when you feel like I need to change this and you change it, you think, gosh, what have I been living with the last few years? It happens to us all. Things like that, especially engine mountings, it creeps in to the point where we don't notice. We just adapt and we get used to it. Tadas, also might be the tyre. I have the same. My tyre has a small bump on the thread and it does shake on speeds. Yes, if you've got cheap aftermarket tyres, that's not going to help. They are noisy and they don't absorb vibration. I just realised my coaster actually lifted with the mug. It's one of my early templates for the Preservation Club. I wasn't happy with this design. It's been changed since. Nick, by the way, Andrew, Birmingham Bears playing Yorkshire Vikings at Edgbaston tomorrow, so Birmingham will be busy in the evening. Thanks for letting me know about that one, because well, I don't live nor work far from Edgbaston. Yeah, so I'm not giving away where I live, but it will have a disrupted. It always does, the cricket. But I'm not going anywhere. I've got work to do on the Fiesta tomorrow, straight after work. Craig, yeah, I've got the headrest from TJ. We met up on Tuesday, so I'll clean and getting them fitted. I'm so pleased because he messaged me. I'm really pleased that you've got those headrests as a result of the video. There you go. I've sorted something out, and I'm pleased that TJ managed to come and meet you. And that's what it's about. I'm really pleased that that's worked out for you. And Nicholas, hello, buddy. Um, Change the coolant on my Galaxy with Ford 080 coolant. How long do you think the life of it is? Suggested is 10-year-old. Not 10. 5. 080 coolant does not last 10 years. It lasts 5 years. Preferably, you need to change it before then. I'm scrupulous with 08 with coolant changes. I just think you can leave it 5 years. Depends how old your car is. Because I often find with old cars is, even if I wanted the coolant to remain in my Fiesta or my Rover or my Focus, there's always going to be a job that requires me to drain the coolant before 5 years, whether it's a hose that's cracked and given in, or a hose clamp that's cracked and given up and rusted, or the water pump has started leaking, or the timing belt needs changing, therefore change the coolant at the same time, or the radiator started leaking, or any single goddamn nook and cranny has started leaking. Or in the Rover's case, head gasket symptoms, but fingers crossed that doesn't happen again. Or the coolant bottle developing some micro cracks and it could blow up. Literally, I've seen them blow up. Not good. So 5 years, leave it for 5 years, absolutely fine if your car doesn't leak. But if it starts developing leaks, you're going to have to drop the coolant before then and sort it out, and then put new stuff in. Don't drain it and put it back in. That's wrong. You shouldn't do that. There's too much contamination involved in that. You could get all sorts of stuff in there and tip it back in your cooling system. So that's my answer to that one. Even if it could last 5 years, most likely you'll be having to do a job resulting in half of that coolant being changed anyway. So you lose track of when your coolant was done. That seems to be the case with Beatrix, and it's certainly the case with the Fiesta that I'm doing, because there's just so many things that are going to have to come off again, and then we have to drain things again. You know what I mean? So it's not like oil. Water is patient. It will find a way out. I hope that answers the question, Nick. Adam, I've not got too much to diagnose really with my Mark 1 at 34,000 miles. I should think not, but age does get to them all. So not too much to contribute. Still interested to listen to. Well, I've got a top tip for you, Adam. If you want to go, if you're desperate to go and buy a part, I would suggest you go out. And this is a good comment that was given to me in a recent episode. I can't remember who made the comment. And it's something that I actually forgot about. Throttle position sensors, they do wear. They've got a track that tends to wear out, and most people will not experience problems with TPS sensors. Don't wait until a code comes up, because then it's completely gone, and it will go into limpo mode, like a fail-safe mode to get you home, because it won't know where the throttle is and what sort of fueling to tell the computer to say how much the throttle's open. But what happens is they wear out slowly, and then you'll get some rough running issues or inefficient. I always think it's worth going for it. Genuine Ford throttle position sensors for a Zetec or Sigma will cost a king's ransom of 140 odd quid. Don't go that. You go aftermarket. There's plenty of decent ones for 20, 30 quid. Go and buy one of them. I'd say go for a 30 quid one. Don't buy Febi. I don't like them. There's a Febi TPS sensor for about 20 quid. Car parts in motion. Don't buy them. They're rubbish. But there's another one. I think it's called Delphi, and it's about good name. £34 and a lot better quality from what I've been told. I've yet to do it to mine. I'll change it on mine. It's easy to do. So it's a 34 quid job for you, Adam. You might as well change it, because it might not have too much wear at 34,000 miles, but it's old, and it's something to be kind of conscious of with age, really. Tadas, also might be a good idea to mention for TDDI engines at some point to check the chain, because mine is making a noise. That was noticed on the day. Others might have done the same with the TDDI. TDCI, I think, has a wet belt, so no idea. Doesn't have a wet belt. It's before that, so it has a timing belt that runs from the crank to the cam, but the chain will just run to the pump. It's not a wet belt. That was far later. Mark 1s don't have wet belts, so don't worry about that. It is making a few people feel conscious that they need to look at their chains, because there's this unscrupulous thing that timing chains last the life of the engine, and they should last 20 years, right? Easy. They could last a lot longer, but it depends on the quality of oil changes. I often see this on, I won't get distracted, but I often see this on other groups, particularly Mark 3 Fiestas. People don't like CVHs because it's a timing belt, and most people who own Fiesta Mark 3s are not very practical, so they don't want to have to pay a mechanic to change the timing belt every 5 years like it's supposed to be. So they prefer the Valencia HCS with a chain, because, oh, it's a chain, doesn't need changing. Oh, it bloody well does, because I've known 2 failures recently of HCS engines snapping the chain because the oil's not being changed regularly and the chains are broken. So there's no point. You might as well have a timing belt. But you've got the best of both worlds, Tadas. And you definitely need it to be done. It's just timing it up afterwards. But I'm assuming you can get the timing chain where you are quite easily. In fact, in Europe, I suspect you are much better off for parts than we are in the UK at the moment. Excuse me. That guy from C to Alpha 5. Hello, sir. How are you? I am not too bad. I hope you're doing okay. It's been a while since I've heard from you. It's been a while since I've done a live stream. Pleasure you could join us, my friend. So I hope you are keeping well. Craig, my Silver is going to get a seal changed, as it's going to a local dealership show next weekend, Ford Summer Cup. Fingers crossed on that one. So I have to get it looking absolutely mint for it. Get it done. You'll be fine. Most likely, a good body shop will just cut the rust out of the whatever the seal that you've got, and they'll assess how much they need. If they want to cut a whole seal, they'll do the whole seal. But you might find you give them the seal and they'll just say, look, we ain't done the whole seal, because you don't need the whole seal. They'll just cut whatever they need off the new seal that you've bought and weld it onto the good of the old. And that's the way of doing it sometimes. A good body shop won't do that. Won't cut the whole seal off if it's not necessary. And I think with a lot of Mark 1s, unless they're really gone, I don't think you need it doing. Mark 1s are nowhere near as bad as Escorts and Fiestas of 10, 20 years in the past before the Focus. Nowhere near. Tony, funny you should mention the coolant thing. Going to do mine. I've noticed you've changed your name, Tony. Is that because I was getting confused and I didn't know it was you for a start? I knew it was you. Tony, funny you should mention the coolant thing. Going to do mine and change the power steering fluid at the same time. Got a few jobs to take care of this summer. Oh, right. Well, Tony, you're going to enjoy a video in 2 days, because in 2 days' time, there's going to be a fabulous episode. 2 fabulous episodes coming out in 2 days' time. Oh, no, not 2 days' time. 1, 2. No, there will be a good episode coming out on Saturday, hopefully at 6 o'clock if I've timed it right, and another one 2 days later. It's on Nick's car, and we had a lot of fun, didn't we, Nick, on that day? It wasn't fun. No. Sorry, I just had a spasm there. There we go. Yes, that power steering change was quite interesting, wasn't it, Nick? So yeah, I'll leave that there. So spoilers. So Tony, watch that power steering change. It's very easy, and it's safe. You're not starting the car to do a power steering fluid flush. You don't need to. That's really bad. Craig, TJ and I are going to organise coming down to next month's meet in Convoy, as he missed the last one due to a broken spring. No, that's absolutely fine. No problem. TJ is very welcome. Is that TJ Hater by any chance? Very nice guy. and can't wait to see him. So fingers crossed on that one. Oh, sorry, I've just thought. So he was the one who gave you the headrest. I didn't realise it was him who messaged me. Tadas. Yeah, I would like advice or maybe video from Andrew on how to change the power steering fluid. Right, well that's coming out. I don't think it will be the one that's coming out in 2 days' time. It will be the one. It's a two-parter. I'm spreading it by 2 days because it was too much. It'll be in part 2, I think. But they're equally as frustrating. Very. The power steering fluid was actually the best job of the day. I think Nick would agree with that one. Craig, I will have all the tools with me at the meets if anyone needs to do any running repairs. Don't tell Nick that. He's got a reputation for messing with his Mark 1 when he goes to a show. And then, well, me and Dave have got me and DBS Sparks have got a very good story that we would love to tell people one day. And we were just like, why are you messing in the car park? Trying to change a PCV valve, weren't you, my friend Nick? And you ended up dropping it between the dead space between the back of the inlet and the starter motor, where no one but a chimp could get their hand behind. Not a good one. Fun times. So Craig, keep your tools away from certain people. Adam, looking forward to the next meet next month. I'm really too. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really pleased, and it's a lovely venue. And this will now be this is ironic because I've been there with Beatrix for over a day. I've been to the Great British Car Journey in the Fiesta, and now I'm going in the Focus. Well, I've completed the hat trick in the hat trick of appearances in one venue. This will be the last and the best. Hopefully, fingers crossed on that one. Tony, I bought a Lucas throttle position sensor and performing superbly. Oh, that's a good tip then. There's a Lucas one. I'm very suspicious of Lucas branded products, but they seem to be making a bit of a comeback recently. Lucas batteries are good. Yeah, Lucas batteries are really good. In fact, the Yuasa batteries that I recommend, apparently, according to not just a few garages that I know, they've stopped supplying Yuasa batteries. They used to have a stand, a Yuasa stand at the back in the shop. They've stopped doing it because they had so many warranty problems with the batteries. They're just playing up. So Yuasa suddenly have gone cheap. So my preferred choice of Yuasa, I mean, I've got the battery on Beatrix is obviously a good stock, but now it's a bit 50-50. Lucas is what people are going for. Lucas and Exide, which is what I've got on the Mark III Fiesta. The Focus has got a 6-year-old Halfords battery, and I tell you what, I think it's Varta who make them batteries. They're damn good batteries, they are. But it's only the old Halfords stuff. I've noticed Halfords are selling a budget range of batteries. I wonder whether they're Lion batteries with Halfords stickers on them. I'm looking forward to the next meet in July, coming again with Adam. Great, lovely to see you, Josh. That'd be really nice to see you. It's going to be a lovely day. Yes, well, obviously I've ended up giving away the location live on a live stream, but it doesn't really matter to me. As long as the date is not revealed. As long as people don't reveal the date, because I don't like other people outside the club knowing dates. I don't like my movements being monitored. I just don't like it. That's the only thing. Bit difficult with being a YouTuber, but still. The moaning A Brown 5 Brown. I wire brushed back the rear subframe on my ST170, treated it with rust converter and got it primed with hammerite red oxide. Try and use zinc, but red oxide's okay. Was going to top coat it, but guaranteed it is raining. Oh yeah, I know. I had this same problem when I was doing the Mark III. Stop, start, stop, start. Rain, rain, rain. Moisture, too much moisture, not dry, not warm. it was horrible. It's the only thing with top coats. You can do everything else, but as long as you got it primed, that's the main thing. But remember, primer is porous. Don't Primer's okay to embed on for the top coat to embed on, but primer doesn't actually cover anything up. It will allow moisture to penetrate into the metal again. So try and get it top coated as soon as you can, weather permitting. Adam, thanks. I've made a note for the throttle position sensor. Well done. Tanas, you see, I know what oil I put in my car, but what was before me, I have no idea with any other used car. It is how lucky you are. Absolutely. I mean, for me, the reason I bought my Focus was because it had the book full of stamps that I showed you on the day. It's just got all the stamps. From 11 years old, it was serviced on the dot. So you know the oil was changed at the intervals that was recommended. I often think though, and this is my thing with recommended intervals, a lot of manufacturers will say, 5,000 to 7,000 between oil changes. That's not good for an engine. I always change the oil every 12 months regardless of mileage. I just change the oil on the Focus, and it's like water, and I put more water in it. Not literally water, but oil that looks like water. There's nothing to it. I haven't changed the oil filter though. It's been about a year of driving since I last changed it, and because it does so few miles, the oil filter hasn't picked anything up. There's nothing in there. I'm just literally changing the oil. And same with the Rover, I've just changed the oil on that. It's like water. And the Fiesta Mark III isn't like water. It's all carbony, but that's going to start improving a lot recently from what I've been doing. So you do have to go on that, but you never, fingers crossed on that one. And it's the type of oil. I've seen it where people put semi-synthetic oils in Mark 1s. That is not appropriate, and that is really bad for these engines. They are fully synthetic engines, all of them. The idea of synthetic is that it breaks down slowly, more than semi-synthetic and mineral. Goodness me, does anybody remember the old mineral engine oil, the thick green stuff that classic cars use? Oh my goodness me. How the hell? No wonder they needed big, massive starter motors to turn the engine over. Imagine that on a cold winter's morning, 2050. It's like syrup. Like the oil pump is trying to stir syrup around the engine. No wonder so many classic cars have an issue where the cams wear out at the top, or the valve gear, because the oil can't get up quick enough to stop the metal to metal. Whereas obviously semi-synthetic, much thinner. Synthetic is even thinner. It's just like water, especially when it's warm. Craig, I'll be in security detail. Make sure no electric Hyundais try to park with us again. I know. Well, I'm getting a second flag made up, and that will solve half the problem. It wasn't the venue's problem. It's just that people can't actually just see a line of cars and stop parking in there. There was an Audi as well, I believe. Yeah, you can't tell people where to park. They'll just park where they feel like it. My belt is due 20 kilometers. I will try to make it change both at the same time. Yeah, change both at the same time. That's ideal. In any car, any TDDI, TDCI. What could possibly go wrong on those two parts? Well, I'd tell you, Nick. No. Tony, I've done the power steering fluid once on an old Puma. I've had it completely revived, and it completely revived the steering, I have to say. Looking forward to the video. Changed mine, easier to be recognised. Lovely. No, that's no problem. So you've done it before. Easy then. Same engine, it's a similar configuration. I wonder whether you've done it the same way I've done it. So that'll be interesting. I'll get your feedback on that one. We've all got our own ways of doing things, and my way seemed to be the minimal amount of mess was what we wanted. Nick, no, the PCV was already changed. I was just checking to see it was working. Sure. Well, it was almost not working as an entire car, that one. Tadas, you see my book of stamps? And who knows even what is the real mileage of it, because my country's famous for adjusting things. Same here. But that's interesting how they would adjust that electronic speedo. Somebody will know how to adjust it and clock it, but I wouldn't, yeah. There's rumours that the UK government, well, we're going to have a change of government, most likely not the Conservatives, Labour and Reform. That's an interesting one, but I hope to God they do not take out what has been proposed recently, a mileage-based car tax, pay as you go. How are you supposed to do that with old cars? Are you going off the MOT sheets? Because if they're going to go off the MOT sheets, you'll be finding that there's a whole new industry for clocking. You know, when people used to clock cars back in the day, because it only had a little ticky-tacky tometer, you just wind it back. With electronic speedos, I tell you, that'll be a new industry. That would, if the cars were taxed on mileage per from one MOT to the next. I don't know how they're going to do. I think it's stupid. I don't think they'll be able to do it with older cars. But you'd find that there's an entirely new industry of clocking, and people would pay good money to clock because they'll be saving money over the cost of clocking. Oliver, hello buddy, how are you? Any advice on an oil leak from the speed sensor? Swapped it a year ago for an aftermarket because the old one died. Noticed a very small leak. Shouldn't be leaking. That's a cheap aftermarket one. Get it out, put a genuine one in. I can't remember what the parts number is, but I have a contact. I'll ask for the parts number. If you've got the aftermarket one, if you've got the link, if you bought it on eBay, you should have the OEM parts number for it, and that will link to the Ford number, and that's the number you need. Order one from Ford. They're not expensive. They're not ridiculously expensive. Aftermarket ones, just I wouldn't put. Personally, this is my recommendation. Speedo sensors. They're so critical to the way the car works. I wouldn't even dream of putting an aftermarket part. There's just certain things that I would never replace with an aftermarket part because they're so crucial to getting you from A to B. If that speed sensor packs up, you're on the AA truck, and I wouldn't trust an aftermarket one to do that. So get a genuine one. It will stop leaking, and it will give you some reassurance, because it gives me no reassurance whatsoever at all that you've got an aftermarket one. So that's your problem. All right. Tadas, if it is on the gearbox, I might shoot check breather tube on gearbox. It's not blocked. Check there's no double gaskets. Other than that, no idea. No, I mean, I've never heard of a breather getting blocked on the gearbox, to be honest. Not really. It's an idea, but the O-rings, the O-ring wouldn't be very good on it. It's an O-ring, and I don't think they're very good on the aftermarket ones. Jason, hello, nice to join us, and greetings from the US. I'll tell you what, you're going to love a video that I've done recently. I haven't really spoken much about the US models, but I have done an entire new video looking at the US models, and I found it really interesting. Although I have to say, I think with some of the models, I think the US draw the short straw in some respects, but not others. Unlike many of or all of you all diligently working like many of you all, diligently working my way around my 2004 2.3. So it's the Mazda L series, the Duratec 2.3 ZX3. For those of you who are not aware about that configuration, ZX3 three-door basically, in Europe, which I've shared just a bit with Andrew. Great community, good luck with all. Oh yes, I'm really pleased that you've got in contact again. I have seen this, and what a lovely car. And the fact is, it came before the facelift, because in 2005 they facelifted the Mark 1, and it kind of doesn't look right. I think they made a bit of a mess later on. So you've got the right model and a very good engine. Mazda L series Duratec. The Duratec is just such a good engine. Nothing really to go wrong in them. They do flap a bit on the inlet manifold, so you might have to take the flaps out. But apart from that, there's no bother with them. And also the best thing about a the Mazda L series chain, they went back to a chain, and they don't go wrong. Just change the oil. Tadas, but this is stupid for the mileage. Aren't we paying tax with fuel? Yes, and that is the answer, Tadas, that I gave to somebody. You drive more, so you're going to need more fuel, therefore you pay more tax. So we already do this. But the problem is, Tadas, I wouldn't put it past our government or one of them to be that thick or just pretend to be, that they would try to implement something like this, because a lot of the ULEZ schemes and all this is awful. It's awful. No one's thought about this. It's just a money-making scheme. They don't really care about whatever logic it's based off. It's just, what is it? You know, that's kind of where it is. Let me just check my. That's all right. Just checking my phone is charging. I don't want it to cut out halfway through. Nick, has your mate managed to sell the Focus, Andrew? No, he hasn't. No, not as far as I'm aware. I hope he does sell it soon. It's a bargain for 750. That car, a bargain, and he's done quite a bit of work to it. In fact, I'm shocked that he hasn't sold that for over £1,000, and I actively encouraged him to do so, but he just wants to move it on. He wants to see it go to a good home, and I'm hoping that somebody in the Preservation Club will take it on. I can't do so. People keep asking me that. I can't take a fourth car on. My video with the 3 of my cars kind of depicted, this is where I'm at. I'm not a YouTuber who's going to add a 4th car. I don't intend to change any of my cars, so next year will look a bit different from my YouTubing channel. Very concentrated on Focus Mark 1 antics, but we'll see. Let me have a look. Adam, I saw pictures of the 2005 facelift US Mark 1s. It looks like a Mark 1 Focus with a Mark 3 Mondeo front end. Yes, you got that slap bang right. It looks, well, slightly Mark 3 Mondeo with the headlights and the grille, but it looks Mark 2-ish as well. I don't know what they were thinking about. The Tadas, by the way, for those who are interested in diesels in my city, it is €1.40 and petrol is £1.50. It's not too bad. Our fuel is a little bit dearer than that, but not too far away. Tony, Adam, if you think that looks weird, then check out the US Mark 1 sedan, saloon. Sorry, the sedan, or the sedan as they call it, the saloon model. I do find that US models are an acquired taste. I find I don't know, Jason, if this is what the impression is, but I get the impression for a lot of Mark 1 Focus enthusiasts in America. Oh goodness me, that'll be a lovely trip if I make it to America one day. I haven't been to America. I've been to Canada, but not America. That most of them would prefer a European look with the bumpers, slim bumpers, and yet there are a number of people in Europe that would quite like an American Mark 1. It's almost like we want what we haven't got. You know, it's interesting. I know a few people who've imported US Mark 1s into the UK. I just think, God, are you crazy, or maybe you just want something interesting? The amount of import taxes is ridiculous. But of course, it depends where in the US, which state was it registered? Because if you're near a salt belt, yeah, yes, not ideal. But then again, it would hardly exist if it was near a salt belt. Luke, welcome to the live stream, my friend. Got a popping noise coming from the throttle body area. Noticed it changing the air filter intake. Was noticeable through the intake pipe. Removed it and it's in the throttle body area. A popping sound. No, that's new on me. I've never heard of that before. A popping sound. I'm not pass. Anybody else got any ideas? That's a new one on me, Luke. It might just, is it minor? Is the engine revs changing with the sound? Is there a link between what the engine is doing and the sound, or is it just a continuous popping? The only popping that I can tell you that I've ever heard is a spark plug that's actually earthing and it's actually misfiring onto the block, but you should know if it's misfiring. So that's why I ask. I do apologise if we have adverts. Unfortunately, the adverts are kind of YouTube put these ads on automatically. Sorry about that. Tanas, by the way, I sent you, when I sent you, is that the US model photo in my parking lot? Possibly, I'm not too sure. Oh, converting. Oh, so your petrol is a lot, so yours is a lot cheaper. Goodness me, that is a lot cheaper. Yes, I think it was. I believe so anyway. Craig, I'd love an SVT front bumper. You see, the SVT and the ST170 are so closely related. In fact, they're the same car. They are effectively the same car. There's no real differences between the two of them. So yeah, I'm not surprised. Craig, sounds like a misfire, Luke. Does it happen now and again? Thank you, Craig. I've just thought that would... I'm not the only one saying that. A popping sound usually is a spark plug that's starting to earth itself. Maybe the HT lead has got a crack in it. That's what I would look at. So pull all the leads off and have a look around where it clips onto the back of the spark plug for any cracks in the rubber, because it might be leaking. In that case, new HT leads. Could be the throttle body's cracked. No. I think you'd know about it, Nick, if the throttle body was cracked. And I've got to be honest, that'll be a first. I've never seen them cracked before. They are very high quality plastic. Tadas, all popping in my cars I've ever heard was the LPG system when the plugs were bad and the LPG itself was exploding in the exhaust. But I believe there's no LPG. That's an interesting one. Well, popping is a really bad sort of backfiring sort of issue as well. Not just misfire, it's backfiring. Yeah, bit of a funny one, that one. Oh, we seem to have come to the... Oh, I've actually come to the end of the comments. But yeah, I hope that helps, Luke. Most likely that is the case. I've had the problem with the Mark III Fiesta where I had popping sound. And it was so subtle, it was untrue. In fact, it only actually misfired when the engine was warm. So the HT leads had to expand for that crack in the HT lead, just a little crack to get bigger. And then the spark, I looked down the wells and I could see the spark plug firing electricity at the block. It was earthing. Because a spark plug is an earth point. the biggest earth point in a car is a spark plug because it's grounded. It basically takes positive electricity from the coil and it's supposed to earth against its own electrode. But what will happen is if the HT lead is damaged, it will earth to the block, and it's the electricity isn't travelling as far as it should be. It's not travelling to the end of the tip. Chris, hello buddy, nice to see you on the live stream. 54 plate focus, 1.6 automatic gear, yay, lovely to hear, very light one. Getting a lean code, bank 1, but there's only one bank, so don't worry about that one. Lean, what should I do? Getting a smell of petrol in the car. Okay, a smell of petrol and it's running lean. You've got a fuel leak potentially. You need to start the car and have a look at where that might be coming from, because that's not right. I would change the fuel filter. I'd have a look for leaks. You shouldn't be spending fuel. But I would immediately sense if you're running lean, that means there's not enough fuel that should be getting into the combustion process. So I would change the fuel filter. That's the cheapest fix and go from there. Okay? That's where I would start. Tony, I'd like a set of original Ford HT leads. I had to replace my original ones. One of them was corroded at the coil end. I replaced with aftermarket and they're too long, annoying. Tony, I might be able to help you there. I have had to do this research for yet somebody else, and I have got all the parts numbers for original HT leads. You're going to have to buy them separately, and they are not cheap. You have to look at the bargains. Let me just have a look. Bear with. They are high quality. They fit well. The aftermarket ones, don't like them. They never fit well, and they're not high quality, and they don't last. So let's go into here. I will get you the parts numbers straight away. I'm going to put the parts numbers in the comment section, just bear with. No, excuse me. So I would definitely recommend the original leads. It would just save a lot of fuss in the long run. And I mean, I've still got the originals from mine, but the originals were getting a bit tired. But overall, not too bad. So where is that gone now? Excuse me. I'm just going to go to the next comment. Just while I'm doing this, I'll record it and pop it on Facebook, please, Luke, and I can have a look at it and I'll tell you immediately what it is, or it will just leave me absolutely stumped. Seem to have lost the parts numbers now. That's not very good. Just bear with and have a cup of tea. No, I was just about to say have a cup of tea. I am going to put these. These are the HT lead numbers I'm going to post for a 1.4 or 1.6, not the Z-Tech. These are Sigma leads, okay? So this is just specific to answer your question, Tony. And I'm just going to drag it over and put it down there. Okay, those are the Ford parts numbers that I've just listed. I'm hoping that anybody who watches this will see this. However, there's competition. These do not go cheap. So it might be a case of get one while you can. Tell us, any ideas how to remove scratches on the windows? You've got the scratch window scenario. This is a bit of a problem with Mark 1s. I've seen this before with scratch windows, and unfortunately, I think some of the sort of felt material seems to cause a bit of an issue. If there's anything stuck in there, it will scratch the glass. Unfortunately, the only way I can suggest is by using a glass polish, and it will get rid of most of it, but you'll still be scratches. You can't eliminate scratches on glass. The only way of doing it is replacement glass. Sadly, yeah, it's a bit of a problem on a few cars that I've seen. Engelman, evening. Hello. I'm hoping you welcoming you. Excuse me. Can I start that again? Thank you for joining the live stream, and lovely to see you. Sorry, I'm getting to the stage where my brain is starting to switch off. It's just beyond 10, and I have to stop in about 20 minutes or so. My brake lights are gone, all of them. No idea. Brakes work fine. Pedal switch is okay. Bulbs okay. Fuse is okay. You've got an earth problem. Somewhere along there. Is that your brake lights and your upper brake lights? Is it all of them at the back? What about your indicators? Do your indicators work? Sounds like an earth problem to me. And also, the pedal switch. It might be the pedal switch. I don't know how you can know the pedal switch is okay if the brake lights are not working. They can pack up, those brake light switches. Very rarely, but you never know. Chris, no problem, my friend. Pleased to help. Craig, tell us you could try a fine cutting paste and a buff pad. No, because it's not really good. It's not really that sort of thing. You need a glass polish, but it's tricky. If it's a deep scratch in the window, Tadas, you're gonna have to get another one. I wouldn't waste your time. Put it that way. Tony, that's good of you. No problem. I have the 1.6, obviously. Appreciate that. No problem. So I'm sure you're going to be going on eBay and typing all those parts numbers in. I would just buy them one at a time, and once you've got all four, change all four. Can I replace the front, but the side rear? Is it even for sale new? You can get them second hand, but most likely you'll get them decent. Very rarely do I find Mark 1s have scratches on the windows, but it does. I've known it to happen. So most likely you'll get a better pane of glass. Just second hand. Craig, you can only try. Tell us I've got the paste and the pads. I will get you pics of mine. You can take the edge off. Tell us if you're wanting to improve what you've got. You can take the edge off by using a glass polish and a buffing pad. But I would say you're not going to get rid of it all. It's too deep for that, really. Yeah, so ideally not. Also, I was asked the question also about, going on back on about HT leads, spark plugs. A few people seem to have been buying the genuine Ford Motorcraft plugs. They look really nice. No one's going to tell though. I mean, you're hardly going to go to a show and go, oh look, I've got the stamps on my spark plugs. Don't do that. These spark plugs are quite expensive. They're about 15 quid for a set of 4. And you could buy a set of 4 NGKs, and I think they're exactly the same. I believe the original Ford ones were NGKs. NGK are the ones that did the genuine Ford oxygen sensors. So if you need a replacement sensor in that respect, it's NGK. NGK spark plugs. Just change them for them. I'm actually not a fan of Bosch Super Plus spark plugs. I've actually had issues with them. So might be something to be aware about. Nick, sorry, I'll come back to you. My Galaxy is 23 years old. Christ, that is old for a Galaxy. I can't remember the last time I saw one that age, and the previous coolant was in 9 years. Oops. Have you ever polished a windscreen with serum oxide paste successfully? I don't know. I don't even know what that is. What is that? I wouldn't be using anything else other than a glass polish. Please don't use anything that's quite risky. I do not know what that is. Um, Cerium oxide paste. No idea. No idea. 9 years of cooling. No, that's neglect. That just sounds like a bit of neglect to me. You need to change it more than that. And it is a specified routine. You change the coolant every 5 years. Um, Tadas, all petrol cars I had out NGK Iridium. Don't go for Iridium. There's no benefits to having Iridium plugs. Because my advice is, yeah, honestly, with the petrol cars you've had, Tadas, my advice is if you ever get a petrol car in the future, don't use Iridium. Because the idea of Iridium is that it wears out slowly between the tips and they last a long time with minimal performance loss issues. I personally think a spark plug that is designed to last, what, practically they say 50 to 70,000 miles, that's ridiculous. Any spark plug that has done 20,000 miles, that's going to have less performance. Your coil pack is going to be put under much pressure. Honestly, changing the spark plugs, do it every few years, do it as diligently as oil changes. It's as simple as that. And you will probably, I reckon, 75% of coil pack failures are failing not because they were bad items, but because the plugs are not changed. And I suspect that's why my car, up to 4 years ago, had the original coil pack from Ford. The Ford Motorcraft coil packs, the ones that pack up. Why did mine not pack up? Because I changed the plugs. Because somebody checked, it was serviced before I bought it, and I diligently changed the plugs. So the spark plug gaps never got big, because the bigger the gap, the more the coil pack works harder. So by changing the plugs, you're not costing yourself a coil pack. Spark plugs, I removed mine. They were a little bit sooty. I wonder if this is the norm. I'm guessing it's not going to be squeaky clean down there, but no, they shouldn't be sooty, Tony. That is an overfueling. I think your fuel trim is running a bit rich. They should be quite clean. Not whisper clean, but clean. They shouldn't be on the sooty side. I would probably say that is either a rich mixture or incomplete combustion. So those HT leads that you're going to look at, I think they're going to make a lot of difference, because they can definitely help with getting that better spark. In terms of fueling, that could be an overfueling, which I've discovered could be a faulty cat, but we're not going to that. It's not the end of the world. If it runs fine, it runs fine. But it might be that the cat is starting to make the oxygen sensor think, oh dear, it's not hot enough. We've got to make it hotter and pump more fuel in. That's what happens when cats get old. They start confusing the sensors, and the sensors tell the ECU the wrong information, and then the plugs are a bit more sooty because there's too much fuel. A little bit too much, not too much though. Craig, I know a guy that was offered 1,000 for a set of original Sierra RS500 hose clips, just because they had the Ford stamp on them. That's why I don't get into RSs or Cosworths. That's just ridiculous. And whoever pays that, well, they deserve to be mugged. That's just funny. That is really funny. That's the joke of the day. That is. Oliver, got a good one. What do you know about checking and adjusting the valve clearances on the Sigma engine? Don't. 100,000 miles is what they say in the book. Mine's coming up to 92. Don't intend to. The valve clearances are so wide that you will probably never have to look at them. I've known Focuses with Sigma engines that have done 250,000 miles, 250,000 miles, and they run just as sweetly as they did when they were 100. And I've seen this on camera, in person. and that car had regular oil changes. Just change the oil. There'll be no wear if you change the oil. Naturally, when I take the rocker cover off my own example, I will show people how to check. But the thing is, it's a pointless exercise, because why are you going to check? If the car runs fine, why do you need to check? Are you going to change them? Because it is a bit of a pain, those bucket tube tappets. You do need to get the measurements right. But you can't, the only way of adjusting them is by adjusting the shims on the tappets. So they're shims, so you have to get different size thicknesses depending on what the clearance is. You have to measure the clearances on all the valves, and then have a look at what the factory settings are and see if some of them need bringing back up a little bit, widening, etc. But if your Sigma runs fine, it pulls nicely, and it's probably done less than, I would say, 200,000 miles. I would say 100 is generous, because Ford kind of gave that as like a ballpark figure to say, well, if it's serviced on the dot, then they wouldn't, the valve clearances should be checked at 100. Doesn't say they must be adjusted at 100, because Ford kind of know they just need an odd check, but they don't need changing. And I can guarantee, unless it's done 200, don't bother. It's possible that this is one of them jobs that I could film on camera because it'd be interesting, but it's not useful to anybody, because you guys aren't going to go out and do that. Because I'm telling you, like, you really don't need to do it. It's almost a pointless exercise. And there's so many things that I'd like to do with my Mark 1 at the moment, just to improve little bits, that it keeps being pushed down the road because it's a waste of my time. Excuse me. I'm sure they're hydraulics. No, Craig, they're not hydraulics. They are solid tappets. Unbelievable. How on earth? The early Zetec engines had hydraulic lifters like the CVH, which are a bit of a problem when they get crappy oil in, like I've got on mine. So they can knock a bit. Whereas Ford decided to make, the interpretation that I had was somewhere during 1996-97, they decided to go and convert the Zetec to solid lifters, these bucket shim tappets. And the Sigma was solid tappets from the start. And I'll tell you something, I think it's because Ford really believed, and it has been proven to be a success, that you can make an engine simpler with less maintenance, maintenance-free. Solid tappets are maintenance-free through most of the life of the engine. And they're not noisy. Honestly, I think they are quieter engines than engines that have got hydraulic lifters in. It's so good engineering. It really is. Whoever the designers of both the Sigma and the Zetec, unbelievable engines, to get that level of refinement. People who don't know much about Fords, and I've had this, I had it at the motorist, and he said, "Oh my goodness, that's really quiet. I bet you've have you changed the hydraulic lifters? It hasn't got any." And he was like, "Hey." And I think the guy was a VW Golf owner, so it was like kind of like, oh gosh, I didn't know that. You assume it's so quiet, it's got hydraulic lifters. In fact, many engines don't use hydraulic lifters no more, because people don't change the oil, and it is entirely dependent on how good the oil changes are. If the oil changes are not done, the tappets are going to be awful. Whereas solid lifters are a bit more, well, they are entirely robust to poor oil changes. I'm just going to have to run through some of these. Nick, is it better to use premium petrol once in a while? Yes, once in a while. I use it all the time, but once in a while if you're not as bothered. But I generally use only E5 in all of my cars because they just run better on it. Tell us, quick question: how often does the front headlight bulbs last? For me, half a year, even for the long life ones. In fact, mine broke on the journey the way back home. Um, it depends. They can last. When I had the Mark 1 in daily service, mine would probably last about a year or so, and it'll blow. Some cars are more prone to blowing their headlights than others. I often think it's dirty connections and dirty earth connections that cause headlights to blow and not last very long. You can usually tell if you take the bulb out, if there's a bit of corrosion on the back, it could be like an earthing. Some halogen bulbs are so cheaply made that they're gonna blow anyway. But yeah, it's a bit of a funny one that. I use premium diesel for half the year and I can tell the difference. Less smoke, oil looks cleaner, smooth, bit easier. So petrol might be a difference. Absolutely. And to be fair, I don't want any risk of that cheap petrol because this is a thing. This is why we've got to change the oil every 12 months, in my opinion. No matter how good your piston rings are, you're always going to get a bit of blow by, so that's combustion leaking past the piston rings into the sump. And that means you're going to get microscopic traces of petrol in your oil. Engine oil will, you take, even in my Focus and Rover, it's like water. It's really fresh oil. You will have, if you took it off for oil analysis, guaranteed you'll have traces of petrol in there. And I don't want crappy petrol in there, at least with ethanol. I don't want that because the ethanol will sit in the oil. Another reason to change your oil. So, yeah, ideally so. Oliver, good to you. I was wondering, as I haven't really heard anybody doing it before, that's because they don't need to be done, my friend. And anybody who's like trying to mess around and say, oh, can I do this? Why do you need to? Have you got a running issue? You know, that's the thing. And usually the running issues are not, if you've got a running issue, I think it's usually way worse than valve clearances. I've never known one to need valve clearances to be done. Craig, I use Tesco 99 Momentum. That is the best fuel, I swear, you can buy. It runs better, more efficient compared to normal petrol. It will. It is brilliant fuel. I just wish there was a Tesco's near me. I don't have one near me. I tend to have Shell V Power. I've actually switched recently from Shell V Power as my standard go-to because it's getting a bit expensive. I've noticed that Shell V Power around by me is what, 165, and yet I can go to a local Esso. Esso petrol is really good as well, and their Esso Supreme 99 is £1.55. So I've switched, and I've not noticed a difference. It all comes out the same refinery, by the way, all this fuel, but the difference is the magic additives that are added to the base fuel. You get the base petrol that comes out the same refinery, and all these oil companies put their own secret ingredient in. It's just a question of getting the cheapest E5 super unleaded, and that's why I've gone from V-Power to Esso. Adam, I use E5 every third or fourth full, usually Shell V-Power to help the fuel and fuel lines. Yeah, no. People think that using V-Power and E5 and super unleaded and all this, it's all great for performance. It isn't. It just maintains the car so well and cleans all the crap out. It just makes sure that you're getting less rubbish everywhere. So, I will say this. If you're putting super unleaded E5 in, you don't need to bother with Red-X because that's what Red-X does. Red-X does the same thing, just in a bottle. So why buy the bottle? Just go to the pump and put the best stuff in. Saves you the hassle. I do think premium petrol feels smoother than E10. I wouldn't ever fit E10. Nick, I use Red-X, which is good. Don't use Red X, Nick. You can use Red X, but don't use it. You don't need to. So instead of buying Red X, just go to the fuel station and just put super unleaded in. It's no more expensive. Scotty Kilmer, my God, I love this guy. Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate that, and thank you for joining the live stream right to the end. 10 minutes left. We've got 10 minutes. Go. Tadas, I used Neste Pro Diesel. It is 10% more expensive, but in the winter, for example, normal winter diesel is up to -25 and Pro Diesel -37. Of course, because it is an oil, and that is very ideal for extreme cold temperatures. God, we don't have that issue here. Scotty, your uploads are excellent. I'm really pleased that you've said that. I'm really pleased because a lot of this is the video I did on the boot leaks. I filmed 2 days ago, and I thought I'll put this out straight away, immediately, because we're having so many problems now, and it's still raining in the summer. So yeah, anyway, I pulled out the stops to put that one out, but you know, it's as it is, and I was pleased to do a better video than what I'd done previously. I think that there's a few videos that I'd like to go back over, but only because there's things that I'd like to add, things that I've updated, things that I've learned from other people, and I can share that. Not all this is my own opinion. Tadas, both my headlights were changed, so it can't be corrosion. Earth points. Earth points. Scotty, I never liked Shell. SO is good, but my Fords really like BP Ultimate. That's interesting. I don't rate BP Ultimate. I don't rate it. I think it's really expensive. Considering I've never had a problem with it, really. But they always seem to be quite expensive where I live. So I've never really aimed for it. Kieran, I used BP Ultimate. It's still E5. Good. BP Ultimate, SO Supreme, and Shell V-Power, and Tesco Momentum. Tesco Momentum, by the way, Tesco Momentum is the only fuel that contains no ethanol. No ethanol. It's supposed to be up to 5%. Believe it or not, it contains no ethanol. There's lots of laws and loopholes that they get around by putting that stuff in, but there's no Tesco's around by me, so I can't put this amazing fuel in. No doubt I'll find an excuse to do that in the future. Oliver, oh yeah, 127,000 miles, changed the oil regularly, runs fine. Just curious really, and if it was worth worrying about in the long term. Don't worry about it. I've made your evening, haven't I? Don't worry about that. It's not at a mileage to cause a problem. Are you going to drive it another 73,000 miles? And even then, I wouldn't recommend it. I'm Shell V-Power all the way for me. Well done, Josh. Tony, right, folks, I have to call it a night. And thanks, Andrew. Speak soon again. You take care, Tony. Thanks for joining this lovely live stream. As I say, I'm going to be wrapping up in 7 minutes. And I don't. Josh, I don't rate BP Ultimate either, to be honest. I had to fill my RX-8 up with it once as there was no shells near me and it ran like rubbish until it entered the tank. Do you know what I'm going to say now, actually? I think this is a really good tip about petrol stations. Is the fuel is the same. The base fuel comes from the same refinery, okay? It's just the additives that make it what it is. But I've got a feeling, Josh, that you may have gone to a petrol station with contaminated old fuel. What you've got to imagine is, where is the petrol station located? Is it in the city? Because if it's in the city, it's going to be running out of petrol quicker than out in the country. So the fuel tanker deliveries will come more regularly, so there's fresher fuel in there. So you go to petrol stations in the city. The ones on the outskirts, I'm not saying don't, but I'm saying be very cautious about this. The ones on the outskirts where people aren't using them as much, and they're taking maybe a day or two longer per tank delivery, the fuel's been sitting around for longer. It's not as fresh. So it's got a few days on it, put it that way. and I would definitely not. I wouldn't avoid it, but I'd just be aware about it. So if you can avoid ones that look a bit suburban, you need to go for urban. Also, it depends on how old the fuel tank is underneath. Because I'll tell you what, this is the second reason I've switched from Shell to an Esso near me, is because that Esso petrol station, I call it petrol station, it's fuel station, sorry for diesel owners, fuel station, or I should say it's a shop, because people tend to shop there more than buy fuel, and cause jams at the pumps. But their tank has been changed in the last year, and I witnessed them changing the tanks because it was closed for 2 months. So I go there because I know that those tanks are newer than the Shell that I've been going to, and I don't think those tanks have been. I mean, there's every company, they kind of must have a policy on how regularly they change their tanks. There's all sorts of legislation which makes sure that they have to. But you imagine an old tank under the floor that might be rusting. You could get all sorts of. I know that there's probably filters and lots of safeguards in the way to stop rubbish happening, but you don't know with these things. And I just think maybe that's why it was rubbish, Josh. Maybe it was because it was an old tank. Maybe there was crap in the tank, and then you just sucked it into your car. Just food for thought. What would E10 do to my 2000 ST170? It won't do anything. It just won't run as efficiently, Kieran. I've got to skittle through now. We've got 4 minutes left. I've always felt with Shell, you're paying more for the premium name. Even E10 is more expensive. I do think with Shell, they've gone a bit OTT. My local one's certainly gone like that. Kieran, 59,000 miles. That's nothing for an ST170. Nice. It's a very nice car you've got there. If it's in as good a condition as the mileage. Oliver, yes, you have. Thank you. Definitely, we'll have to get to 200 at least. Thank you. Have a good night. Take care, buddy. Have a good night. Pleasure for you to join. Nicholas Williams. Night. Take care, buddy. You take care, my friend. Thanks for joining. Josh, the BP Ultimate I filled up was at the seaside, so could be the reason. Possibly. Depends if it looked a bit. Did it look a bit old? Because I just think when the tanks are redone, it's also a sign if the station has been refurbished. Because I just look at a new station, I think, go there, because those tanks will be newer. I do have this instinct in my head. Whereas older petrol stations that look like it's just a little shop with a couple of old pumps, I just think, don't. Just stay away. It doesn't look right to me. Kieran, I've never used supermarket fuel in my ST170. Good. But Tesco Momentum is the best. It really is. It's the only supermarket fuel ever. Tesco Momentum, 99. So that's funny enough. All fuel stations here are delivered from the same refinery. Yeah, and Nest, at least they say, is directly from Finland, and there may be a reason why going south Lithuania is the last Neste country. Possibly. Oliver, speak of Tesco stations, a big filling station near me had a leak and ended up filling people's cars with mud. Whoa, that is really bad. Oh my goodness me. I have heard of a few things, weird one-offs that have happened like that. I've got a feeling there was a fuel station years ago where they actually contaminated everyone's cars because there was diesel in the petrol and petrol in the diesel. I don't know how that mix-up had happened, but there was fuel in the wrong tanks. So people were filling up with petrol and they're putting diesel in their cars. That could happen to anyone. Jesus, that would be horrific in any car. I think if you've got an older car, you could just about tolerate that. I think if you put diesel in a petrol car, you get away with it, just flush it out, get rid of it. Putting petrol in a diesel car, I don't think it would work at all. That's horrible. That is really bad. Christ, I prefer the mixing of fuel to mud because, gosh, I would be claiming compensation. I'll be taking the car to my local garage. I wouldn't do it. I won't do it. I'll take it to my local garage, get them to bill me, and then I'll be sending that bill to the company. In small claims court, put it that way. Good night, because in my country it is well afternoon midnight. You take care, buddy. And it's 1 hour 30 minutes. I've got to go. Kieran, might come to when I need to know anything about my focus. Come back to me, no problem. Hopefully I'll do another live stream soon, but keep watching my videos and I'll try and put some out. Mk1 stuff is a bit dry at the moment. It's a bit empty. I'm not doing too much at the moment. There's a lot of show season going on. I've got other cars to attend to, so live streams is the best way of doing this. But there's a couple of good episodes coming out in a couple of days. If you're up for entertainment, it really was entertaining for you, but not for me. Trust me. I remember the days when you fill up your LPG and you get it with water. Oh gosh. Kevin, I changed my fuel pump some time ago, but my fuel gauge isn't functioning. Could it be the float mechanism? Yes, if it's an aftermarket one, sometimes the floats just don't work properly. Unfortunately, it's going to have to come back out. I'm sorry to tell you that. I'm going to end this live stream. Good night, buddy. Good night, Josh. Been great to chat. Goodbye, Craig. Yes. And I will see you very soon, buddy. Take care, Adam. Take care, all. And 1 hour 31, I am out.